In this video, we're gonna cover the ultimate cryptocurrency guide you need to understand the cryptocurrency market step by step. My goal for this video is for you to become more knowledgeable, confident, and also understanding how to protect your hard-earned money. Because let's face it, cryptocurrency at the moment is kind of like the Wild West, and you need to understand how to protect your money. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be notified about these time-sensitive videos, and also smash that like button down below and share with your family and friends so they can be also more knowledgeable and confident about cryptocurrency. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so this is how we're going to go over this guide, okay? So what I did is that I grouped, okay, a series of terminology that is very commonly used into the cryptocurrency world. And then what we're going to do is that I'm going to explain step by step what all this means, okay? So I divided into blockchain related terminology, types of blockchain related terminology, coin related terminology, technical analysis, website and apps, and centralized and decentralized exchanges, okay? So you can also download this Google Doc in the description down below, so you can have it, you can print it, and you can do whatever you want with it, all right? So also, by the way, this might be a part 1, part 2, part 3 videos, depends on the length of the videos, because you know I don't want you to stay here like for an hour, so we might be divided in 15 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first of all, the blockchain, right? Everybody talks about blockchain, but like what a blockchain really is, okay? So a blockchain, right? It's a distributed database that is shared among the nodes of a computer network, okay? They basically host this shared and immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking assets in a network, okay? So let's go to the drawing board so you can understand what I mean by that, okay? So imagine that this blank paper right here is the blockchain network, okay? And the blockchain looks like this, okay? We have this block right here that is connected to this block right here, and that is connected to this block right here, and also it is connected to this block right here, it's connected to this block right here, okay? And each one of these blocks, right, has been previously created, right, by the code of the actual blockchain. And what the code is basically a series of numbers and letters that dictate how that network works, okay? And in each block, right, there is a series of information, right, that they get stored and they cannot be modified, okay? They could never be modified because they are basically stored into this ledger and they cannot be changed or altered, right? So that's why also the security of the blockchain comes in, okay? So to make an example about this, okay, and how a transaction can work on a blockchain, right? So let's say that this is me, right? And it needs to send money to another guy, right? And I want to use a blockchain. Let's say that I want to use Bitcoin to send money to Jack, okay? Let's call this Jack, all right? So how can this happen, right? So I have Bitcoin, right? And I have a wallet, okay, that has Bitcoin as well. And I want to send them to Jack, okay? So what happens in the process is that by initiating the transaction, okay, I basically start a process within the blockchain network, okay, of creating a transaction and basically mining a new block, okay, which the block is basically this little square that you can see right here. So, and I'm gonna also explain later how the block is actually created through mining, but just to let you understand that once I initiate the transaction, okay, there is a process that takes place, okay, and that process is called mining. And the actual mining itself, it's basically is the solving of this a very complex mathematical equation that creates this block. Okay, so basically I want to send, we're here, I want to send money to Jack, and then I initiate this transaction. The transaction takes place, okay, gets verified, gets validated, and this block, it's created. And once it's created, it's basically validates the transaction, and Jack's receive my Bitcoin, okay? And this is his wallet right here. And the beauty about the blockchain is everything is so transparent, right? And because it is transparent, right, anyone can actually check the activities of each wallet, okay? So there, if you actually go to this website, it's called blockchain.com/explorer, okay? You are actually able to see live all the transactions that are happening in the network, okay? So as you can see, this is, for example, is a transaction that has been started, but it's the transaction has not been confirmed yet. But once it's going to be confirmed, then it's going to stay on the ledger, right, on this network forever, right? It cannot be altered, it cannot be changed, right? So this is what a blockchain in very simple terms is, okay? So again, if we have to go back to terminology, it's a database, okay, that is shared among the nodes of a computer network, and also it cannot be altered, right? And what it basically does, again, is facilitate the process and the recording of the transaction and tracking of the assets in the network. Because in my wallet, right, I can have 50 Bitcoin and it's visible. And Jack, on the other hand, they might have 100 Bitcoin, right? And this is all public information, okay? So the second terminology is block, right? What a block is basically data structures within the blockchain database where the transactions of the cryptocurrency blockchain are permanently recorded, okay? So if if we have to go back to our drawing right here, as I mentioned to you earlier, right? Anytime a block is created, all this information is stored right there, and the block gets added to the chain, okay? Let's say that, after, let's see, after our transaction, right? There's another transaction that takes place, okay? And in this case is another guy right here that wants to send money to his friend, and he lives in America and this guy lives in Brazil, okay? And that transaction happens 2 seconds after the one that we just did, okay? What's gonna happen is that, we had our transaction here, right? This is my transaction that I had with Jack. And then immediately after, this other guy, right? has to send Bitcoin to this other guy, or whatever other cryptocurrency would be. And basically another block is created with the details of the transactions, right? So in our example before, like let's say that I send 1 Bitcoin, it's gonna send 10 Bitcoins, right? Which it's pretty decent size amount of money at this current time. And everything is gonna get stored in the block after the transaction has been confirmed and validated, okay? And the process will keep going forever as long as the network is active and running, okay? So again, this is one transaction, this comes another guy that want to complete another transaction, and that's how this is going to take place, all right? So that's what the meaning of block is, okay? So let's go ahead right now and define what a network is, right? Because you will hear the word network all the time. And a network is basically a series of computers that can communicate with each other, okay? So let's say that, let's see, we have this, I'm really bad at drawing things. So we have this computer right here, okay? And then we have this computer right here, okay? And then we have this computer right here, right? And these computers, right, they all connect to each other, right? Because they use the same type of software. In this case, if these computers, right, are the miners of Bitcoin, right? Because each blockchain is a network, right? As we previously discussed, right? They run on the Bitcoin network, which is a series of computers. They all talk to each other with the same type of software, okay? So that's what a network is. And that's what makes all the blockchain and the transaction moving across the network, okay? Because to create the blocks that we previously discussed, okay, especially in the Bitcoin network, something needs to happen, right? And it is a complex mathematical equation, okay? So in order for this block to be created and for these transactions to take place, what needs to be happening is that these computers, okay, let's say that, it's myself, right, that wants to send money to another person right here, okay? Once I initiate the transaction, okay, the network, okay, receives the information that I want to send 1 Bitcoin to Jack, okay? In order to do that, basically all these computers, which are controlled by miners, right, which have a very, very high computational power. They will solve all this mathematical, a complex equation, okay, to make sure that the transaction that I'm sending is valid, okay? It will have to go through some confirmations, right? And once the confirmation finally takes place, then the other individual on the other side will receive the Bitcoin in his wallet, okay? And the computer that was able to solve these mathematical equations faster than the other ones will basically receive a reward, okay? And this reward is called mining fee, okay? So anytime they solve a transaction, okay, these guys right here, which of course is a network that is controlled by a mining company, or can also be individuals, they basically receive a mining fee in order to process this transaction right here, okay? So, and this is power of the network, right? That is able to make sure that all these transactions are being validated and are being processed in the network, okay? So let's go ahead and move ahead on the next term, okay? So the next term is the node, okay? The node is basically the single computer that is a participant in the blockchain network, okay? So as I showed you earlier, basically, we have the network, there's a series of computers, and the node is the single computer that, runs on the same software, and basically it's able to communicate with other computer that runs on the same network, and therefore being part of the same on the same blockchain, okay? All right, so another term that you'll probably hear over and over is proof of work. All right, so proof of work is a consensus mechanism that requires members of the network to solve a complex mathematical puzzle to prevent anybody from gaming the system. That's where the security of the system comes in, and that's why you don't need a third party to validate the transaction. Because if you think about it, if I want to send money to somebody else right now and using the banking system, the bank needs to validate that transaction, and then that transaction gets pushed into their ledger, and then the other person receives money into their bank account, right? But there is a middleman, right? In blockchain and with the proof of work, that basically does not happen, because it is the network and the software itself that basically validates that specific transaction, okay? So, as I showed you earlier, there is this network of computers. Let's say that this is the network of computer that basically operate under the Bitcoin network, okay? And in order to, as we said earlier, in order to process this block right here and make sure that the transaction is valid, okay, and all the information are stored correctly, these computers need to solve this mathematical equation that is basically the validator of the transaction, okay? So, the transaction gets into the network, okay? It gets validated, and then after that, the block is created, okay? And it requires a series of confirmation by several computers before it can be validated, right? And the thing is that once to actually mine a block, to actually process a transaction, is a very complex task to do. And that's why by having this complexity, the system cannot be manipulated. The network cannot be manipulated, because it requires a series of validations, and most importantly, the solving of this mathematical puzzle in order for these transactions to be processed, okay? So that's basically the proof of work. The only issue with that is that it requires a decent size of electrical power to actually, keep all these networks and keep all these, they call mining rigs, to actually process these transactions. And, there's been a lot of speculation in the past about, whether the mining of Bitcoin is hurting the environment, which in reality, there's a lot of different things that are harming, the environment rather than just mining the Bitcoin. Because mining is basically what it is the creation of these blocks right here, okay? That has all the information and validates all the transactions that are happening in the network. As you can see, as we've gone earlier, right? Blockchain.com, right? This basically it's a transaction, and I think if we refresh this, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but this is the transaction that has happened, and once it has been confirmed, the other person will receive the Bitcoin into his wallet. And again, whoever solves that mathematical equations basically gets the reward, right? Which is the mining fee, and also it's called gas fee. And that's something that the user have to pay in order to process that transaction. And that basically gets rewarded to whoever process this transaction faster, okay? So that's basically, it's called proof of work, okay? All right, the other type of blockchain is the proof of stake, okay? So, and this is a term that you will hear a lot, and basically the proof of stake is a consensus mechanism that uses validators, okay? And just by the way, just to make this super clear, the consensus is basically the validation of and the legitimacy of the transaction itself, okay? So the validators, okay, are selected to randomly mine and validate the block, okay? This system basically randomizes who gets to mine and who gets to basically validate that specific transaction, rather than using a competition-based mechanism like the proof of work, okay? So the most commonly recognized proof of stake blockchains are the Binance Smart Chain, Solana, Cardano, Avalanche, Polkadot. Those are blockchains that they are basically proof of stake, and they work with this specific consensus mechanism, okay? In order to become a validator, a coin owner must stake a specific amount of coins, okay? Let's go ahead here on the drawing board and see how this works, okay? So let's say that here we have, Paul here, right? And here we have another guy right here. Let's call it Jack. We called it Jack before, let's call it Jack again, okay? All right, Paul in his wallet, okay? This is his wallet, and right here is also Jack in his wallet right here, okay? Has 1,000 Solanas, right? Okay, and Jack right here has 1,500 Solanas in his wallet, and they are both holding this amount of coins in order to become validators, okay? Because the blockchain, different blockchain require to hodl, right? To hold in your portfolio certain amounts of coins and stake them in order to become a validator, okay? And and you might say, okay, like, why would I do that? And the reason being is that once you become a validator, and the more you stake, the more you are considered a solid part of the entire network, okay? And even though it's randomized, right, your weight in the actual network, it's gonna be way higher than somebody that has. And the reason being is because also in order to become a validator, you must stake a certain amount of coins in order to do that, okay? So let's say that, a transaction comes into the network. Okay, this is a transaction that basically comes in. Okay, and there is this person right here. Okay, that wants to send this other person right here some Solana, right? Some coins. And once it starts the transaction, okay, the transaction the network receives the transactions, okay, and it say, okay, I want to send 100 Solanas, okay? The network receives the information. Then what happens is that the network will randomly pick one of those validators to actually say, is this guy actually sending 100 Solanas to this other guy right here? And once the validators basically confirms that the transaction takes place, all right, this other person right here receives the 100 Solana, and Jack, that validated the transaction, gets a reward. Okay? So, by doing that, anytime a transaction is processed, okay, Jack gets rewarded. Okay? Anytime. And that's why, by having this amount of token staked, you're able to basically earn passive income by being a validator. Okay? So that's in a nutshell how it works. And the reason being is that, number one, it doesn't require that amount of energy that you would otherwise have in another proof of work blockchain like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, and it's definitely more a type of green blockchain. Okay, so that's in a nutshell, in a very, very simple word, how the proof of stake blockchain works. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the other term, and the other one is governance. Okay, the governance is basically a system for managing and implementing changes to the cryptocurrency blockchain. Okay, so before we talked about the network. Okay, so let's say that we have our networks of computers again. Okay, and let's say all these computers are connected right here because they all basically use the same software, right? Let's say that the software and the network that they're using right now, it's the Binance Smart Chain. Okay, and let's say that a change, okay, needs to happen to this network. Okay, what will happen is that because if there is a governance, right, on the network, it means that the members of the network will vote democratically to make those changes. Okay, so how can I explain to you is this? Okay, so let's say this governance. All right, governance. All right, let's say that May 1st, okay, they want this. They propose a change on the network, saying that, I don't know. I'm just making an example, right? The color of the computers needs to be all black, right? This is just this is irrational. This is not how it works. Once there is a change to the network, it's actually change into the code, into the software itself. But just making an example, just to be more like realistic, okay? Let's say computer is black, okay? Okay, so Then there's going to be the proposal, right? Why this computer needs to be black, right? And there is an explanation. And on May 7th, right, there's going to be the vote, okay? And what the vote is, it's literally like a very democratical vote where it's going to be basically a question, right? Do you want, for example, the computer to be black? Here's going to be yes, right? Here's going to be no. And the way this change will take place, if enough members of the network, right, will pay with the actual token of the network and basically put like enough BNB into this bucket to actually say yes. Okay? So let me repeat that again. So on May 7th, let's say there's the vote. Okay? In order to vote, you gotta add into this bucket your token in order to vote. And that's how, you know, you would basically with your pencil go to the polls and just like mark it down. And because this cannot happen in a network, it's basically done this way by basically put a certain amount of tokens into this bucket and therefore saying your opinion about that, right? And if you like to say no, then you basically put the tokens into the other bucket, right? So once the time is up, right? Let's say the election, the vote ends up on May 8th. That will complete the governance round, and if that specific change is passed, then in this instance the computers will be black, and if not, they'll be white, right? So this is in very simple terms, but in reality it's a lot of it takes a lot of changes, and basically the actual changes and adoption to the network itself. But in a nutshell, that's what a governance is. And the beauty about this is that it makes things very democratic, right? Because if it's an open source software, and if you're a developer and you want to propose a change, by being part of this community, you can actually propose a change and make basically propose this change to the network, and if it gets accepted, then things will start to take place in order for that to happen. Okay, so I hope that this made sense on the governance side. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of the words that is very used into the crypto space, and it's staking. Okay, so we talked before about proof of stake, okay, and basically staking is connected, right? And what it means is basically it's a way of earning rewards for holding certain type of cryptocurrencies, okay? And again, as I showed you earlier, you can basically stake and become a validator for that specific blockchain and get paid rewards anytime you validate a transaction. But also there's different ways of earning staking rewards, and we're also gonna cover those later. But I just want to let you know the staking per se is a way of earning rewards by holding or hodling certain cryptocurrencies. All right. So I hope that you like this guide for today. This is part 1. We're gonna have a part 2, and make sure that if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can be notified about these time-sensitive videos, and also smash that like button, and make sure to come back for part 2, where we're going to cover the different type of blockchains, and probably gonna have also part 3, because we have a decent size of information to cover. And I hope that you like this video. Let me know in the comment below, If you want me to cover some other topics, if you want me to go deeper into some explanation, and I'll see you in the next.